I know I'm going to catch flack for this. I know people don't want to hear. Like, the best thing for horse racing is to be first Saturday in May, first Saturday in June, and then right around 4th of July.
This is VSiN at the Track. Now here's your hosts, Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman.
Welcome back in here, another VSiN at the Track. I am Mike Somich. He is Aaron Halterman, and I almost brought the broom, Aaron. We swept it last week, baby. Let's go. 3 for 3 in the feature races, 2 for 2 on the best bets. I'm going to lead the show with it because someone in the comments made fun of me in my gray sweater saying I was unprepared, and then we went 5 for 5. How's your day going, Aaron?
I didn't see that in the comments, but
he deleted it. He took it down after I went 5 for 5. Yes.
Wow. Well, first of all, I don't know what you were wearing would mean anything. And secondly, you sure did go 5 for 5. Interesting. Hey, I appreciate you saying we, but it was all you. 2 best bet winners, and nailing those the race previews as well. And listen, they weren't easy winners to get to. I don't think, at least. I know Burnham Square ran off the screen, but that looked like wide open on paper. You got Abarrio beating Sovereignty and Journalism. That was pretty impressive too. So anyway, good on you. Great show for sure.
Was surprised by a couple of the prices. We talked about Stars and Stripes. Ends up winning as your favorite. I did not think Stars and Stripes was your favorite. Burnham Square 6 to 5. I thought that was shockingly low when they actually broke from the gate. We are going to talk about that White Abarrio race. He wins the Oaklawn Handicap over Sovereignty Journalism. What's up next for them? Of course, we're talking Kentucky Derby. We've got an updated leaderboard. We're going to talk Contenders versus Pretenders. We're going to talk about Churchill Downs. They made a purchase this week, which is interesting. That will be something that we obviously have to cover, as the Preakness Stakes now jumps over to CDI. It pays a lot of money to get the intellectual rights to it. We've got the final workouts for the Kentucky Derby, which means everyone, including Aaron, has run the fastest of his life this week because, hey, that's just how it goes. And, of course, your questions, comments, and best bets. Loaded show, Mr. Halterman. Let's kick it off at the top here. We're going to talk a lot of 3-year-olds. I want to talk some older horses before we jump into it. And first and foremost has to be White Abarrio here. We saw Sovereignty. We saw Journalism. They come back. We talked about the pace of this race. How is it going to set up? Who's going to go forward? I thought it was going to be White Abarrio. It was Sovereignty. Sovereignty goes out, takes the lead. Journalism is the one who's sitting right to his flank. I think that was always the plan, just to stay close to Sovereignty and see what happens down the lane. White Abarrio sits third, absolutely blows him away down the stretch. Someone might have mentioned both of them needed a race. Feels like Sovereignty needed a race, as did Journalism here. What do you take out of this for all 3 of these horses if they're going to be major contenders in the older division all year long?
Well, it could have took you serious, but you had that gray sweatshirt on or whatever you had on, so we couldn't listen to you, right, last week. Listen, I think it was just so fun to see, right? I would say that right off the bat. But Irad Ortiz did something in that race where if he lost it, he would have been criticized. But since he won it, he's a genius. And what he did ended up being a genius move because they all kind of talk about Journalism, Sovereignty, White Abarrio. They all kind of broke together. So they ran by me the first time. They were all together. And then when you get to the backside, Irad said, you know what? I'm going to take back off White Abarrio, which was the opposite of what we both thought would happen. And all of a sudden, Sovereignty's on the lead and Journalism is tracking right there in second. And look, when they turned for home, it kind of for a half second looked like, oh my gosh, Sovereignty and Journalism is going to bang heads this whole stretch and it's going to be crazy. And then you kind of scale back and you're like, the big white horse is firing. And he ran huge, Somich. I thought Journalism and Sovereignty, especially off the bench, ran just fine. White Abarrio, another level. What a performance by this 7-year-old. He absolutely took off in the stretch. Could not have been more impressed with White Abarrio. And look, Irad made the decision, and it ended up being the right decision.
Yeah, massive move forward for White Abarrio here from the Pegasus World Cup to this race here in the Oaklawn Handicap. I thought it was just a phenomenal race from White Abarrio. I feel like Sovereignty kind of needed this one. I also think it was bad for Sovereignty to be on the lead. Like, some horses just don't react as well to it. And Sovereignty, who was more of a closer than anything else early in the season, and then we saw more speed be worked into him toward the later part of the season. He was more of a stalker. I just don't think he wants the lead. I think he wants a target. You saw once he got past, he actually extended out on Journalism, so he started to make a move back toward White Abarrio. I'm saying this was a great debut for Sovereignty. this was a very good debut for journalism because he ran his heart out and he ran very well compared to Sovereignty, a horse that dusted him all of last year. Now, is he going to beat Sovereignty? Probably not. Probably going to have to find a new spot for journalism here. But I thought this was just a phenomenal way to Abarrio race. I thought this was a very good Sovereignty race. I thought it was a very good journalism race. You just got to kind of figure out, okay, where do they fit now in the hierarchy? Because it's hard to trust White Abarrio when we get to the Classic. And I do think Sovereignty gets better with the target. But let's talk about journalism real quick, because I do think this horse is relevant moving forward. What do? You're not good enough at 1.25 miles. You're not good enough at 1.125 miles. Do you cut to 1 mile? Is that where we're going? Are you going to be a one-turn sprinter? Or do you just keep is this the new Skippy Longstocking? Is this the horse that just runs third in a lot of grade 1s and grade 2s, then maybe win some grade 3s? What is the plan with journalism?
I think you have to keep him away from Sovereignty until, the big one. I mean, the Breeders' Cup, obviously you're going to want to try it, but didn't it just feel like to you, okay, this could be journalism's time to beat Sovereignty? Forget about White Abarrio. They weren't going to beat him that day, but
he was done. He was dusting him no matter what.
Yeah, but it just kind of felt like, man, journalism should beat him here. He kind of looked like he had him measured at the top of the stretch. And like you said, when White Abarrio went by him, I think Sovereignty re-engaged and he was widening over journalism at the wire. A lot of people thought 1.125 miles, that's where journalism could get him. No, that didn't happen either. I think you cut him back and try the Met Mile. That's going to, obviously add 1 mile at Saratoga. I think you try that next and see what happens there. But really, I think the best answer is you're just going to have to go where Sovereignty's not. I just don't think he's going to beat him with all things being equal. Maybe Sovereignty gets a bad trip or whatever. You could beat him there, but I think Sovereignty, I'm with you. I think he got a bad trip in this race. That isn't really what he wants to do. I know it's like, yeah, he was on the lead. He didn't have an excuse. Well, the excuse is he's never been on the lead before, so I think he was a fish out of water a little bit. But yeah, look, I think go to the Met Mile with journalism, see how that works out. And maybe that's a path you could take. You could run in a big, 7 furlong sprint. You might try that, something like that. But, going long against Sovereignty is just not something that they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, I hope the answer is that you stay on the East Coast. I think the real answer is you go beat the crap out of worse West Coast horses. Yeah. You just go run in all the G1s and G2s in California with 6-horse fields, and it's not exciting for the sport, but you win a lot of money and win a lot of races. Versus running against the big boys on the East Coast. Because that's really what we're seeing. Yes, Nisos, Nevada Beach, I get it. They're all on the West Coast. But you don't know with these Bob Baffert horses when they're going to run next, if they're going to show up, if they're going to... you don't know. And isn't journalism just the best older horse on the West Coast if he goes out there?
Yeah, I think he is. I think the Nisos matchup would be interesting. But like you said, you just really don't know with him. But yeah, I think he would be the favorite in most of those races out there, right? And so that's probably, But here's what I'll say. They really have never treated this horse like that, right?
No,
They've
they haven't.
never purposely went for these easy spots. I mean, look where he showed up. He could have easily waited 2 weeks and been 2 to 5 at Churchill here next weekend. He didn't do it. So that
could have been 2 to 5 in the Big Cap a couple weekends ago. Like that.
He would have been 1 to 1 million in the Big Cap. Let's be honest. But you know what I mean? So, they've never really been like the conservative approach. So maybe they're not going to do that, but he's too good of a horse to keep running second, right? Like he needs to go to races where he can win. And you don't want to get him into the situation where you look back and go, gosh, he ran second to Sovereignty 8 times. Like you don't want to do that. So I would take a conservative approach, try to avoid him a bit, but listen, at the Breeders' Cup, you're going to wind up facing him. So just go, try to map out the best path to that and hope you get some wins in the process.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting what happens with all these horses. It's funny, like, off this race, White Abarrio probably a fade. Sovereignty a play on, and journalism depends where he lands, which is ironic because we were just praising White Abarrio. He's going to be way too short next time out. I'm probably not betting him.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm the same way. But you picked the time and got the price, right? Yep. He's in a 6-horse field. He ends up almost, I think he was 3 to 1 or 7 to 2. That's when you want him. But White Abarrio off that effort, with that effort on the page, I mean, he's good. Yeah. 6 to 5, I would say, that type of price next time.
If he and Sovereignty faced again, he'd be the same price as Sovereignty. And that's just wrong. Like Sovereignty should be a shorter price. You said it was a bad trip. I think it was a less than ideal trip, right? It was fine, but it wasn't stalking, which is what I think Sovereignty run is going to want to do. I don't want to talk a ton about this, but Burnham Square, holy crap. Like, wow. That was one of the best performances I've seen on turf in a long time. We talked about this horse and Gulfstream horses specifically closing, going to Keeneland and how well they've been doing. Burnham Square dusted that field, and it wasn't a phenomenal field. It wasn't a European horse that we're really high on, but Burnham Square is probably the best turf chance we have in the Breeders' Cup turf right now after seeing that performance.
Yeah, I wanted to mention it because not only just the Breeders' Cup for sure, you're right, and hey, it's going to be at Keeneland this year. That's a great thing for Burnham Square as well. But it was one of those kind of performances I just didn't think we would see, and not that I didn't think Burnham Square had a chance, but I'm saying, if he won by a length or two or whatever, I'd be like, well, that's about right. But he elevated his game to a level we haven't seen yet from him. And like I said, not only the Breeders' Cup, but the big races coming up in New York over the summer, specifically, the Manhattan kind of kicks it off on Belmont Day coming up here in a couple of months. That's a situation where it's like all of a sudden he looks like a horse that could go up there and win that race. And so you want to keep an eye on him because he's really thrown his name into the hat. Because I'm with you, like, I kept waiting for the wheels to come off, but it's like they're not going to come off because he was just unbelievable. You can't see anything wrong with that performance. It was tremendous.
I don't think it was a great trip either. I thought he kind of got the worst of it around the first turn. And so for him to be able to run like that, absolutely phenomenal. The trainer did come out and say he doesn't like to ship, which is a problem. That this is a horse that we're going to see a lot in Kentucky, but may not see in New York. So we'll see if we end up north, or if this is a horse that just, hey, Kentucky Downs, Keeneland, Churchill, Breeders' Cup, right? Like that may just be the plan for Burnham Square. We'll see how that one plays out. Churchill Downs making some noise this week. CDI, the parent company for Churchill Downs, has purchased the intellectual property for the Preakness Stakes. Not Laurel, not Pimlico, the intellectual property, name rights, all that jazz for the Preakness Stakes. Also news that we may possibly be moving the Preakness back a week. We've heard about that come out in the last couple of weeks as well. What do you make of this move by CDI to purchase this, with also knowing that the Maryland Jockey Club still owns it, has to be in Maryland? There's a whole other Maryland aspect to it. And CDI does not own a Maryland track. They have Colonial Downs. That's Virginia, not Maryland. A lot of just background stuff going on here that I think is hard to parse through.
I think they just changed the power structure of the Triple Crown with this purchase. That's how I look at it. I think now CDI owns 2 of the 3 legs. They kind of are going to be able to control this thing and do what they want to do. That's the way I look at it right now. Of course, the Kentucky Derby is never changing. That's always going to, and never should. That's the first Saturday in May. I think you're going to look at them moving the Preakness back. I know it's maybe a week is kind of the first step. I think they're going to move it considerably. I think maybe we're looking at first Saturday in June for the Preakness, and that'll kind of strong arm the Belmont, right? They're going to have to move it because they're not going to compete with it, so we're going to get some changes. And I think a lot of
not
people,
perfect though. First Saturday in May, first Saturday in June, 4th of July. Let's go.
You guys in the comments can go off on him on that one because I know people are going to hate it. I don't hate it, but I think that's eventually what's going to happen, don't you? I mean, I think the writing's on the wall now because the way it was 3 different properties, and basically the Preakness aspect of it was one's CDI and one's Naira, and then you got what's happening there, and we're not going to play ball with you. Now Naira has to play ball with CDI, in my opinion, because they control. I mean, you could run a 1.5-mile race versus the Preakness on the same day and fight for horses. It's not going to be good for anybody. I think eventually you're going to see this thing spaced out.
Yeah, I mean, Naira is more likely to play ball with CDI too. I mean, Stronach was, I would say, the odd man out of the 3 companies when you're talking about if you're if you had a vote in honor of Survivor 50, which is going on right now. Stronach will get voted off the island. They would be voted off the tribe pretty quickly by Naira and CDI. Look, I know I'm going to catch flack for this. I know people don't want to hear. The best thing for horse racing is to be first Saturday in May, first Saturday in June, and then right around 4th of July. If you do this on the Friday before the 4th of July, or after the 4th of July, like the Friday right before the weekend, you are going to get ridiculous numbers. You already have the Stars and Stripes Festival at Belmont before. Like you can come back with this, have a huge racing day. By the way, like Preakness all of a sudden matters because it's not just the Derby horses that don't go back. It's the undercard horses that don't show up there either. So the races are not nearly as good on the Friday and the Saturday of Preakness weekend as they are of Belmont and Derby weekend. That's because all the horses just ran in the Kentucky Derby weekend. They can't come back. And so it's not just the Derby, it's everything else around it in my mind.
No, you're right. I think it will make the Preakness a lot better, the whole day a lot better. I think in the modern age of how horses are being trained and how these trainers are operating, there's just less and less of them that want to come back in that 2 week and then run in that 3 weeks later. And so it's not really the series that it used to be. I know there's going to be comments, this guy does it, this guy does it. And that's true. There are a few, like I think Mark Cassey would be, would opt to do it. I think Kenny McPeak doesn't have trouble. There's other ones, right? There's, Michael McCarthy ran journalism in all three, but I think to the bigger point of it, wouldn't it be nice if we had 7 or 8 horses running all three? And that's truly would be a series again, right? If you did that. So I don't think there is a good answer anymore, to be quite honest with you, because I don't think 3 races in 5 weeks is really a realistic thing anymore based on the training and how they train. But I do think the space out really dramatically changes history, and I don't like that either. So I don't like either situation, to be quite honest with you, but I do think this is going to cement the fact that it is going to change, and, we're going to have to pivot on it.
Yeah, I'm going to be blunt here. I don't give a damn about history if there's not going to be a future. And we need to find a way to have the sport have a future. And right now, I don't care if we're going to change the Triple Crown to be able to create 3 race days that people care about. Because right now in America, there's one that the general population cares about. And the opportunity to have 3, I think, is way more valuable than the fact that, we've got to rewrite history a little bit.
It definitely... It's a Triple Crown by name only right now. I mean, we've changed venues the last few years, and that's been some weird circumstances. That won't always be the case, but it really doesn't feel like it's a Triple Crown on name only. Like I said, to me, it doesn't feel like one. To me, they're 3 separate things, right? That's where we're at, because you just don't have that carryover that we used to have. Even when I got back in the game, there would always be 5 or 6 Derby horses that would go to the Preakness. And I haven't, 07, 08 is when I got started. You just don't see it anymore. And so, if we could get more horses, and like I said, not only just in the big one, but in the undercard races as well, I think it makes a lot of sense to do it. But again, the comments saying, well, we've just ruined the Triple Crown, they're not wrong, but I think you have to adapt. I lean more towards your line of thinking of you kind of have to do what the trainers want to do, because they're the ones that ultimately are going to enter the horses.
I mean, Sovereignty didn't run the Preakness last year, would have won the Triple Crown.
I know.
It's okay if it has to change. It's fine. But if you want the Triple Crown around in 50 years, you got to find a way to improve horse racing. And this is one of those things where it will improve it for people who are just kind of sitting on the sidelines, enjoying it 3 times a year, once a year. Make it better.
We could talk about Sovereignty, and that was obviously just a huge thing, right? But like Rich Strike didn't even run in the Preakness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What Sovereignty didn't start this. He was the difference was Sovereignty was the first one that skipped it, where it's like, no, you have a legit chance to win a Triple Crown. Why are you doing this? I mean, Rich Strike didn't run in it either, and it's like, here's a story that America really could latch onto, right? I mean, that was crazy when that happened, right? And America loved him. And then he did, like, well, he's not running the Preakness. And then I don't think they really paid attention anymore,
Yeah.
So I hear you.
Oh, boy, I didn't think we would go off for that long on that one. All right, anyway, let's move to the next topic here, because we do have a lot to get to still. Let's talk about some Kentucky Derby workouts. I made a joke on Twitter at SomOfI'm18. You can follow Aaron at racing_dudes. I said that Chief Wallaby had the best workout ever in the history of all-time racing. It's officially Kentucky Derby season, because every single workout is overanalyzed and blown out of proportion. I'll just say this, look, every single one of these Kentucky Derby horses is going to have the best workout in the history of the Kentucky Derby. We talked about it last week. I just don't read too much into it, man. Like, just don't do it. Like, if it's a bad workout, that pay attention. If it's a good workout, be like, yeah, it better be. It should be.
I just kind of scan for the negative every day.
Mhm.
I'm with you 100%. I don't really care how positive it was. And we've talked about it. Hey, all these horses are good. That's why they're there, and they're going to work well. Good horses work well. Yeah. So yeah, I scan for the negative. Haven't seen a ton of negative, honestly, though.
Nope.
So not a lot of process of elimination going on there with, oh, he had just an okay work. Okay, well, throw him out, right? I haven't seen a lot of it. So, but yeah, it's fun to watch. It builds the hype, and I like that aspect of it. But when it comes to your handicapping process, kind of just do the same thing you've always done. That's what kind of got you here, type of thing.
I will say, Chief Wallaby looked awesome. I will say, he did look pretty darn good. Look, if you're enjoying this and you're on the YouTube channel, make sure you comment down below. Let us know what you think about CDI buy-in, the Preakness Stakes. What do you think about the workouts? If you have any horses that you want us to talk about, we will go through some of your comments a little bit later in the show and talk about a couple of those horses that you want us to chat with. VSiN at the Track, now on its own YouTube channel. Subscribe on YouTube at VSiN at the Track, youtube.com/at VSiN at the Track. You can also follow us on both Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts, so you never miss an episode or any of our best moments. Join the VSiN at the Track community. Post your questions and comments below on YouTube. Appreciate everybody who has been jumping on there. We'll get to some of those shortly here. But before that, we've got to talk about some race previews. We're going to start out with Friday at Keeneland, closing day, as we open up Churchill on Saturday and prep for the Kentucky Derby with race number 8, the Bewitch Stakes here, a grade 3 going 1.5 miles on the turf course. And Aaron, I am going to miss Keeneland's turf course. Every now and then, we get one of these boutique meets where it's just wildly predictable what you can look for on the turf. This Keeneland turf course, horses that couldn't close a Gulfstream have been awesome at Keeneland for the entire meet. I'm going to be pretty sad that is going away. With that being said, final graded stakes here from Keeneland on the turf, race number 8. Who you got here on Friday's Bewitch Stakes?
Well, do we just stick with that angle and talk about a horse that's been closing at Gulfstream and take him right here? I think so. Well, I take her right here, I should say. Look, I'm going to go number 7, Just Basking on top in the spot. Well,
I was between two. That was one of them.
It has to be, right? I mean, well, look, first of all, this horse back on February 28th did close and actually won at Gulfstream Park in the very one stakes and ran very well doing it, won by a half length. Then last time out, again, was in behind horses and closing from 5-6 lengths out of it. Closed up for 4th, only beating 1.5 lengths here. So I think coming back in a really, really good spot. This makes sense. The distance is no problem for this horse of 1.5 miles. Last 2 races, 1 3/8 and 1.5 miles there at Gulfstream. Like I said, the one win and ran really well in the other one. So number 7, Just Basking for me. Hopefully get that 9-2 price because that looks pretty darn good on her.
Yeah, man. I think there are 3 horses that you clearly look at here as a top 3, and it's not overly creative. I'm not going to come up with a 20-1, a 15-1. We'll talk about some of the prices here in a second. Just Basking is one of them. I'm going to go to my girl. I'm going to go to my girl here. And look, I love Mrs. Astor. This is a horse. I used to do a stable up for racing dudes where I would point out a horse. I pointed her out in her first race. I've followed her entire career. I think she's got an awesome kick. She's gotten better since going over to the West Coast. And when you think about turf courses that it's not easy to close on, like Santa Anita, also kind of on that list. Not a turf course where you see closers just absolutely dominate. However, Mrs. Astor's been able to do that for Jonathan Thomas. I love the fact that Jose Ortiz picks up this mount. She's got the right style. She's also not like deathly slow early, which I think is relevant here. Like you're going to show some pace early despite the time form number. And she's run well at Keeneland before. She's finished in the money in the exacta twice in 4 tries here at Keeneland. That includes like the Dogwood where she was 52-1, where she ran 4th. Like she has run good races considering the competition she's faced here at Keeneland. I think I get 4-1 on Mrs. Astor. I don't think you get 9-2 on Just Basking, and that's part of the reason here. So I'll go with the 6, Mrs. Astor here, 4-1 on the morning line. It's 6, 7, 9, right? Like Speed Shopper is the other horse that you absolutely have to consider in this spot. William Walden, we've talked about him a lot at Keeneland. He's been awesome. John Velasquez rides here, another horse that's come from off the pace twice at Gulfstream Park. Like it's 6, 7, 9, right? Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I totally agree with that. And I was between the 7 and the 9, and we talked about William Waldom on the show a lot. I wouldn't let him beat you, that's for sure. Look, she ran really well last time out. Got third, closing, kind of stalking, but had to pass some horses late to get third. I just think just Bassian could kind of turn the tables on her in this spot. But yeah, speed shopper and with a huge shot for sure. 2 races back, one at a mile and a half there on Pegasus Day. Looked pretty good doing it that day as well. So, really nice horse. Mrs. Astor, I think it shows a lot of confidence that they're bringing her here. And she was one, like I said, I'm with you. I think it's these 3 horses. I look, I don't know why you take her away from Southern California. You say it's tough to close on that track, but man, she's been doing fine. Won 4 out of 6 races. I don't think you take her away unless you are really, really confident that she's going to come here and run really well. So I think it's a great sign she's here. I think this is a fairly simple race. Just use those 3 and move on. Like I said, though, with the way the course is playing, I think it leans more towards the 6 and the 7 than it does the 9. And that's why I ultimately landed on the 7.
Yeah, look, I was between the 6 and the 7. It was never the 9 because of the price for me, but I do think the 9 is absolutely a legitimate contender. The one long shot that I did take a long, hard look at here was the number 2, Virgin Colada. So, horse that Michael Maker is training was a Chad Brown horse throughout the 2 and 3-year-old seasons, then flips over to Maker end of the 3-year-old season, runs at Churchill, doesn't run great going a mile. But like we've seen Maker with these horses where it's like, hey, there was some hype around the horse in a good barn. Maker gets his hands on it as it gets older and sends the horse long on turf. And all of a sudden, there's another career here. Virgin Colada, the last 2 races, been on synthetic, not on turf. Thought ran okay in both of them. Ended up getting first, one through DQ, one through the real win. I think it says a lot that we're like, okay, screw it. We're jumping from that. We're going to run in a grade 3 race, and we're going to go a mile and a half, which is something the Maker does generally very well. Pratt signs aboard. This is the only long shot I really had any interest in this race.
Yeah, I'll go one to the inside. The other one I want to talk about is number 1, Way to Be Marie. I thought this was an interesting horse. Now we're going long, and or 2 races going long. We're okay, nothing special, but they weren't awful. Went a mile and 5/16 at Kentucky Down 3 back. Got second, beaten 2 3/4. Not a terrible effort there. The last race in the Long Island wasn't great. Changed trainers. Rob Atras had this horse. Now it's Eddie Keneally. Ran last time out at Fairgrounds on a mile 16th race. I was the first out as a 5-year-old, and I thought ran pretty darn well. Came from kind of the clouds, honestly, and got it done by a neck. I don't know about a mile and a half. I think that's the big question mark, but she's kind of right there. Got to work out a trip with Saez aboard from the inside, but I think she drops back, and I think she's running down the stretch. I don't think she's as good as the 6 or the 7, but if the right trip, I think Way to Be Marie could pull an upset.
Now, last week, you called out a horse who was, I think, 15-1 morning line, ended up going off at like 35, 40-1, ran third, and was the gate to wire shot in that race, the clear speed horse, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't see a clear speed horse here, but I do think that if you're playing tries, you're playing supers, you could try and find the speed and say they're going to hold on for third, for fourth, something like that at a number. Because maybe everyone doesn't come closing is similar to what we saw in that specific race. Who makes the lead here? I mean, is it Venecia? Is it Triumphant Spirit? Golden Sunrise? It feels like it's someone from the middle. I guess Irad could send on the 7 if he really wants to as well. Who ends up in the lead here?
I think the 2 could, but probably not. I don't think that's her best game. The 8, I think could. I think Literate could.
8. I'm sorry. I meant 8,
yeah,
Literate, not the 7 just passing.
Knew what you meant.
Yeah.
But last time out was a little bit too close to the pace, I thought, and didn't run very well. Kind of runs the best coming from out of it. I have no idea. All these horses like to come from out of it. My guess is going to be the 8. I kind of think that's the one that could send. It looks like has the most early speed.
I think it is going to be the 3.
Okay.
Almost went gate to wire. Keeneland going a mile and a half, like was in third early and then ended up in the lead through that second half of the race. I wouldn't be shocked if Saffy's just like go. Just go, true. See what you can do. Like you're probably not the best horse. Actually, you aren't the best horse. maybe you are in the lead. Maybe you can catch a break there. So going to be interesting to see how the pace plays out. That is race number 8 on Friday, the Grade 3 Bewitch Stakes, final turf stakes from Keeneland. Number 6, my girl, Mrs. Astor, for me, 4-1 on the morning line. Number 7, Just Basking, for Aaron, 9-2 on the morning line. We will fast forward to Saturday, which means it's time for Churchill Downs. It'll be opening day from Churchill Downs. Race number 9, the Roxelana here. This is the first stakes race of that Saturday card. 6 furlongs for the ladies. Aaron, where are you going on top?
Yeah, this is a horse I really have liked over the years. Number 1, One Magic Filly, so I'm going to pick on top on this spot. Kind of face a little bit too tough a competition. Last time out in the inside information, got 9th and just never really ran much. Got beat by Grand Job, a horse we know is pretty good. But, some of these races beforehand were good enough to get the job done, I think, in this spot. I like cutting back to 6 furlongs. 4 races back, did win an allowance at Keeneland going 6.5. Stretched out and ran in the Chiluki 3 races back in November right here at Churchill. Ran second in that race. It was a 1-turn mile. Got beat 2 3/4, but got beat by Shred the Gnar, who's really good. But ran really well. Beat Ragtime in that race. Ragtime, pretty good horse in my opinion, and one that would look good here. The 2 races back was racing against Sterling Silver, Colorat Beret, who's turned out to be pretty good. All kind of a long way of saying, I kind of think this is a nice class drop for her. I kind of think she sits a nice stalking trip from this inside post. So give me the number 1, One Magic Filly on top.
I don't mind it. I do think there's a lot of speed, which is going to be interesting to see how she's able to handle that, as she has been more forwardly placed. But the cutback in distance today may help her to be able to have a little bit more of a kick if she can sit right behind the pace. I'm going to pick a horse that you pick a lot, and I think you're going to be surprised by.
I am already. I know who it
is. Give me the number 6.
Yep.
Zalitos here. This is a horse that Aaron freaking loves. I think you have picked this horse, I don't know, 10 times? I get a lot. Yeah. You have picked Zalitos a lot here.
Yeah, I love him.
I think this is a great spot. I think it's a great spot for this 6-year-old. You've got a bunch of 4-year-olds who are your main contenders who are jumping in here, and they're trying against older for the first time, or they're stepping up. You've got a boatload of speed that is signed on. Give me the old Johnny Tryhard closer here in the number 6 Zalitos. She's a 7-year-old mare. She shows up every single time at Churchill, as she's won 4 of her 7 starts there in the money 6 of the 7 times. The pace is right. Ortiz takes them out, which is a good sign. He's ridden and won with her before. Second off a layoff on the track she loves, with the setup and the 5-1 price. You should be taking your girl Zalitos, because she's going to roll home, baby. Give me the number 6 Zalitos here, 5-1 morning line.
It's Zetlos, not Zalitos.
It's Zalitos for me. I get to name her when I pick her, okay? When I pick her, it's my pronunciation.
Okay, well, it's Zetlos, but I'll call her Zalitos. Zalitos is a horse that I have picked a lot. I've had success with her. She did kind of fall off form a little bit towards the end of the year. To be fair, I didn't pick her in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. That's too tough of a race for her. I did have her at Keeneland 3 races back in the TCA Stakes, and didn't run all that poorly. Just didn't run great. I do agree, though, this is kind of where she needs to fall, right? This is kind of the race she needs to be in. Second off the layoff. I really like that. You got to love that Jose Ortiz is going to ride for Asmussen. I think that's a good sign. He usually has him on his better ones, or his one he thinks is going to have big shots to win. So, look, I think it's a good pick. And I think if you believe the pace is going to really develop, this is the one that should pick up the pieces, because you kind of mentioned it. She is honest. Like, she is going to close. She'll pass a couple of horses for sure. She might pass them all if they come back to her and the pace gets hot. So, not a bad pick. I'm never going to tell you to not pick that horse, because, that is one of my favorites for sure. And Steve Asmussen, great trainer.
All right. Zetlos, is that right?
Zetlos.
All right. I'm going to take Zalitos, the number 6. Let's go. The number 3, Minx Palace, I think, is very interesting in this spot, too. 8-1 on the morning line. Another horse that's going to be coming from off the pace. This is a first start as a 5-year-old. Little worried about the layoff, but Keneally has this horse working well in the morning. I like the 8-1 price. Did you look at Minx Palace at all?
Minx Palace, I believe that is that horse's name. Yes, you got that one right.
Well, I mean, again, if I mention it first, I get to name it.
That's true. Now, I didn't I didn't love this one. I do love we're obviously getting back to the dirt. That needs to happen. That was just kind of an experiment, I think, last time out. But ran well. But I do think the dirt is where you're going to see this horse at its best, where we've seen her over and over. Churchill's been pretty good as well. I
You're
don't
not
know.
interested.
I didn't.
I can just tell by the way you're talking about this horse. You don't like her at all.
No,
It's
I
fine.
don't.
Just say it.
Okay, I don't like her.
Yeah, you don't like her. That's fine. Just
All
be
right.
honest with the audience here. Just say it. You can admit it. All right.
I don't
Who
like
else?
to hurt your feelings.
I trust me. My skin is pretty thick after reading the YouTube comments last week. All right. Who else do you like here in Churchill race number 9 on Saturday, the Roxelana?
What about the number 7, Vincy Girl? I like this horse a little bit as well. Irad gets aboard this one, coming out of Tampa, and I thought it was a really good kind of knock the rust off type of race. I know it didn't beat much there, but won by a length and a quarter. I thought looked pretty darn solid there. 3 races back was a stakes winner at Gulfstream Park. That was back in August of 2025. I hadn't seen this horse for a while. Been competing with Hall and Ice, who I think is a very, very nice horse. I would pick in this race if she was. That's another one of my favorites that I would pick in this race. But I kind of think Vincy Girl is going to come in there all right. This is another horse. If you're worried about the pace, I think this is one that's going to sit mid-pack. Might get the jump on the deep closers, kind of sit in that middle of the pack, get first run. I trust Irad to give this horse a pretty good ride. So I like number 7, Vincy Girl in second. I thought this horse looked really good.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one. This is a price-dependent horse for me. You're paying the IRAD tax, like right away when you see 9-2 on a horse that, like, you look at. Yep. Now I'm trying to Zetlos. If you look at Zetlos and you look at Zetlos. If you look at now I'm going to mispronounce the mispronunciation. If you look at Zetlos and you look at Vincy Girl, they're kind of the same horse except Zetlos is just better. So you're getting a shorter morning line price here. I like the 7. I kind of wish this was like 8-1, 10-1, somewhere in there. I definitely has a shot. Just the price a little bit short to me on Vincy Girl.
No, it could be. Yeah, it definitely could be. And like you said, you are paying the IRAD tax, as you called it. And that makes sense. I think, though, I look at time for him. I look at buyers, and I think she's kind of right in the, right in the range here. Nobody really stands out, right? So no. I think she's in the range. I think she should probably be around where she is. So I'm not overly worried about that. And like I said, I do like the projected trip for this horse. I do like the 6 furlongs for this horse as well that we saw last time out. So I think she's going to run well. Is she just a cut below One Magic Filly at their best? That's where I say yes. But I do think her best race, she's right there with them.
Now, one horse we have to talk about, the number 4, Lots and Lots of Candy, the name my daughter would like. This is a horse that's getting back to dirt. Probably the right idea here after running in the Mardi Gras last time, 5.5 furlongs on the turf. Absolute speedball, wants the lead. That could be tough in this spot. Price is pretty short at 7-2. However, does have 2 of the best 5 races on the page for any horse that's in this race, and that's why you're staring down that 7-2 barrel here. What did you make of the 4, Lots and Lots of Candy?
Yeah, I think the race 2 back is what people are really going to bet off of, that off the turf stakes race there at Fairgrounds. And she got an easy lead and just kind of dominated horses that she probably should have dominated that day. She was 4-5.
Big Trouble is a turf horse who ran second.
Exactly. Yeah. So caught an easy field for sure. Then there's that race at Ellis over the mud way back 2024 that was huge as well. She obviously has had a lot of problems staying on the track, a lot of gaps between her races. They've got her, I guess, I mean, you have to assume they've kind of got her in good health. I think she's dangerous. I just don't think she'll hold it the entire way. I think there's enough behind her, whether it be your horse, whether it be Vincy Girl, whether it be One Magic Filly stalking. I think somebody's going to come get her. I think she's a nice horse to play on the bottom of the tries. I do think she's going to hold on in this race. I just don't see her lasting the whole trip. I think somebody catches her towards the end.
Yeah, I think she's a speedball. Look at the works. 46-2, 45-4, 46-1, all 3 bullets the last 3 times, 2 of those over Churchill. She likes the track. She's going to be fast early. I just think this is a little too much pace for her. I think that she just gets killed early. If anyone goes gate to wire, it is the 4 horse, though. To me, she is the speed that you use if you're going to use anybody out front. That is race number 9 at Churchill Downs on Friday. The Roxelana Stakes here. Give me the number 6. I'm going to go as Alitos, 5-1 on the morning line. Aaron going with the number 1 Magic Filly, 5 to 2 there. If you are looking for edges outside of just horse racing, make sure you head over to VSiN.com and sign up to be a VSiN Pro today. It can be your edge across all of the sports markets. Try it for just $9.99 for your first month and get our MLB betting guide included. Head over to VSiN.com/subscribe and see all of the subscription options offered there. All right. Let's head out to Aqueduct. We are back on the turf, baby. I love it when New York gets back on the turf. NYRA turf, well, it can be very frustrating because they go slower than, they just go really slow up front sometimes. And that kind of screws with things. But I do love me some NYRA turf racing. And we're going to talk about race number 4 at Aqueduct, the Woodhaven, $150K on the line here for 3-year-old colts going a mile over the turf course. I will let you go first here because I think first time in show history, one of my best bets is also from one of the feature races.
Ooh, well, that is very interesting. Well, we'll see if I don't think as I actually know your best bet, and we're going to be different. So this is going to be it's going to be a battle between the two of us. I'm going number 1, Instability on top in the spot. I loved the debut at Tampa. It was really good. Bad horses that Colt was up against that day, no doubt about it. But boy, he looked awfully good winning that race, awfully good running down the stretch. Go right to a stakes next. Think that's a good sign. That race was at a mile at Tampa. We get a mile here at Aqueduct. And, Flavian Pratt going to get a board here. I thought that was a good sign as well. So I really like the number 1 Instability. Just a really, really flashy debut. Seems like this is a field he should be able to beat.
Yeah, look, I don't mind the 1. I get why you like the 1. This is kind of like a Chad Brown spot where you expect this horse to win. But man, I love the 3 Teddy's Rocket. I think this is just a great spot for Teddy's Rocket. And there's so many angles for me that really make me want to play this horse. I mean, first off, we always talk about like switching from an outside post to an inside post and how valuable that can be. This horse was 7 of 7 on maiden debut at Saratoga. 1, that's not easy to do. Then goes up to a grade 1 Summers, 10 of 10. So all the way on the outside in both starts. Now you're getting in the second spot with tactical speed in a New York race where there's not a ton of pace signed on. Like this is just screaming dream trip for the number 3 Teddy's Rocket. This is like, look, I'm not going to bang Joel Rosario. He had a terrible ride, by the way, yesterday at Keeneland. I'm not going to bang him, but this is a classic Joel off angle because if you look at the summer, bumped early, he had to check, was 3 to 4 wide and then 8 wide down the stretch. It's a 1-turn race. It's a 1-turn. How do you have all that trouble in a 10-horse field when you're on the outside in a 1-turn race? It's actually one of the easiest trips to get. Yet somehow this horse had just a boatload of trouble. Now you get Manny Franco. We've talked about how much we love Miguel Clement. Very good off the layoff. Love the positioning here. I think it's all systems go here for the number 3 Teddy's Rocket. And I think because instability's in this race, I actually get a decent price here, too. So give me the number 3, Teddy's Rocket on top.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the price is going to be okay. I think you'll get close to your morning line, if not a little higher. I think you might get a little bit higher of a price there.
Are the morning lines out? I haven't seen them.
Yeah, morning lines are out. Teddy's Rocket's 8 to 5. Instability is 5 to 2.
Would have liked a little bit better price.
Well,
yeah.
It's a 2-horse race. If the 1 or the 3 don't win this race, they ran pretty poorly, I would say.
Yeah, I was hoping for like 3 to 1, 7 to 2. So
I don't think you're getting 7 to 2. I wouldn't be shocked to get 2 to 1. Look, you don't have to tell me about the summer because he was my horse in the summer over at Woodbine on September 13th. Because I loved his race when he broke his maiden at Saratoga. He was my bet that day as well because I heard he was pretty good and I liked Miguel Clement and he was a nice debut winner. And I said, yeah, I'm totally in in the summer. He was 6 to 1 and Joel cost him the race, period. I totally believe that. Here's the other thing. Those 3 horses in that race, they aren't that good. They really are. Argos, Wild Desert, 2 Out Hero. I don't care about any of them. Teddy's Rocket should have beat him. So I'm excited to see him back. I just think instabilities, I think he might be like a special type of horse. Mm-hmm. And look, Teddy's Rocket, maybe he's ready sitting on a huge, 3-year-old campaign, but it's instability for me.
Yeah. You know who Teddy's Rocket beat in the debut? Noble Dynasty. That's a pretty good horse. That's a pretty good horse that he beat in the debut. I agree with you that the rest of the summer is not projected out to the way that you had hoped. However, the trip was absolutely atrocious because Joel went full bell curve. I agree. I do think it's kind of a 2-horse race. When I look throughout here, a big question for me is, okay, what is the pace going to be? And it feels like Longshoreman, who is the number, 6 horse in this race, is probably going to be your pace setter. We have seen horses be able to steal races up front. This is a Wesley Ward horse, twirling candy, Munnings on the bottom, so has the turf sprint pedigree, which is what we did last time running second, but also probably could stretch out a little bit. Any interest in the 6 Longshoreman here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one you play if you want to try to beat the 2 favorites. I don't want to go that way, to be clear, but I 100% agree with what you're saying. I don't see any pace other than the 6. I really don't. And look, we've seen Wesley Ward steal races on the front end before. Usually, they are with sprints, and this horse has been sprinting. This will be the first time stretching out to a mile, but, you look at this pedigree, I think he can go a mile. I don't know much past that, but I think a mile's within the realm. Yeah, I like him. I think he's the one that's going to fly out there. He obviously is going to be pretty fresh. 204 days off since we've seen him. I think we'll just fly out of the gate. It's a horse that set the pace going, 5 furlongs, 3 races back, 6 furlongs last time out here at Aqueduct. So, yeah, I think he's the one that could take him gate to wire. I think your horse and my horse, both the 1 and the 3, have enough tactical ability to not let him get too far out there. But, sometimes at Naira, especially with short fields, they can sneak off on you.
Yeah, I think the 4 and the 6 are very interesting if either scratches. To me, the 4 does have enough early pace, and I like the 7 in this spot as well. And there's 2 Cassies, and it doesn't make any sense for blackmail for Cassie to stay in here and not go to the front if bringing it back. Who the 7 for Cassie, and by the way, both owned by Gary Barber. It makes no sense for the 4 not to go if the 7 and the 4 are both in, and the 6 and the 4 are both in. So I think the 4 is sending if in this race. If that's the case, I think that makes the 6 and the 4's life a little bit more difficult. But I do want to bring it back, the 7 horse here, second off the layoff, top turf buyer in the field last time out in the Cutler Bay, running 3rd at Gulfstream Park, and what I thought was actually a really good trip, but against pretty good horses. Any interest in blinging it back here, the 7 on the outside?
Yeah, I don't view him as good as the 1 or the 3. And he is going to be the 3rd choice. He's 7-2 on the morning line. So, it's a little too short of a price for me, honestly. Now, if he floats up, maybe, but probably still not for me. I went back and watched the race at Gulfstream. That it was off of a layoff, first time gelding as well. It was pretty good. That was on Kentucky Derby Day and
Florida Derby Day.
I mean, I'm sorry, Florida Derby Day. Geez, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting excited for next week. Florida Derby Day. And the thing I didn't like about the race is overall, I wasn't a huge fan of it. Like I remember watching it live and going, that was just okay. So I know that the number may have came back strong, but I think there's other horses just project to be a little bit better in this spot.
All right. I don't disagree with you. I'm actually more interested in the 4 blackmail of the 2 Cassies, and that's if the 6 scratches. I do think that horse is a little bit interesting going long on the lead if it happens. Race number 4 at Aqueduct, the Woodhaven. Number 1 instability for Aaron. At number 3, Teddy's Rocket for me. All right, Aaron. I mentioned this before the show. We're going to talk a little Contenders, Pretenders, Kentucky Derby style, but do you know what else is happening today?
No.
Round 1 of the NFL draft. Do you know what Mike Somich loves?
Oh, no. Yes.
He loves drafts. He loves drafts. So, Contenders versus Pretenders in the Kentucky Derby. We're each going to draft 2 each. 2 contenders, 2 pretenders. One of your pretenders has to be sub 12-1, though. So none of this just like 2 stinking long shots as your pretenders. I'm making you take one. You can pick whatever you want in whatever order, but it has to be 2 and 2. 2 pretenders, 2 contenders. I will let you pick first. Or you pick 2nd and 3rd. You can have the choice. Which one would you rather have?
It doesn't matter. I'll go first. That's fine.
All right. So you have 2 contenders, 2 pretenders, 1 contender. 1 pretender has to be sub 12-1. Go ahead. Your first pick.
Okay. Are we now, before I start, are we drafting this all together? Or are we doing the 2 contenders first and then the 2 pretenders?
Any order you want, but once a horse is off the board, they're off the board.
Okay. Well, I'm taking Renegade first as a contender.
Oh, good. That's great. Yeah, you can have Renegade. I actually might have considered Renegade as my pretender at sub 12-1. Okay. He was one of the 2 horses that I would have considered there. So I don't mind you taking him in the contender spot there. Look, I get it. He's been fine. I'm still not sold on him.
It's fair.
I get 2. And so I'm going to take Chief Wallaby as my contender because I still love Chief Wallaby. I'm not going to back off yet. We'll see what happens there.
I wouldn't have taken him as a pretender, so yeah, I'm with you.
And I'm going to take my sub 12-1 Pretender here.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to take him as a contender.
Okay.
I'm going to take Further Ado as my sub 12-1 Pretender.
Yeah, that pisses me off.
Yeah, because I think you would have taken him as a contender. And it was Renegade or Further Ado. I think the Commandment and the Puma are both contenders, and they're really the only 5 horses that qualify. So I'm going to go ahead and take Further Ado as my Pretender under 12-1.
All right. Well, two can play at that game. 4th pick for me. I'll take the Puma as my Pretender.
That stinks because I would have liked to take him as my other contender. All right, so Puma is your
if
Pretender.
You're going to be an asshole, I'm going to be an asshole.
Look,
that's just how it is.
No, man, I don't. I think it's fun. Like Further Ado, the Pretender sub 12-1 is interesting because it means you have to fade one of the good horses.
Yes.
Right, or one of the quote unquote good horses, I should say. I'm not shocked you picked the Puma.
Okay. I'll take Commandment as a contender at 5.
Okay. That's fair. That means you have 1 Pretender left. I have to take 1 Pretender and 1 contender in my final 2 picks here. I'm gonna dive into it. I mentioned this last week. This horse is rising for me. Give me a full effort here as my contender. Like, this is a Brad Cox horse who I think is getting better. The more I watch this horse over the dirt, the more I believe it's not going to be an issue. I do think there's going to be pace. We'll talk about that in a second here in the Kentucky Derby. And this is going to be a price horse. So I'm going to go full effort here as a contender for me. So then I have 1 Pretender left to pick. I am going to go. Man, it's between 2 horses for me here. I'm going to go with Silent Tactic. This is a horse who I don't buy the closing stuff. I don't buy it in Arkansas. If I'm kind of soft on Renegade, that means I'm kind of soft on Silent Tactic here. And I think this horse does take some money because of the consistency that we've seen. So Silent Tactic going to be my Pretender here.
Yeah, look, I was going to take him. And the reason I was going to take him is, obviously we have this show that gets comments. We have over at Racing News, we get comments. I get emails. And it just seems like he is gaining a lot of steam that I don't think he should be gaining. I don't necessarily hate him, but I don't know why you're wanting to run to the windows to bet him either.
There are better versions of him. Yes. Right? Like, isn't Full Effort a better version of Silent Tactic and yet going to be the same or a longer price? Isn't the Puma a better version of Silent? Like, they're just, to me, they're just better versions of Silent Tactic's running style.
Yeah, like I see the world where Silent Tactic could win, like if the pace just melts down and he gets the absolute perfect trip, sure, but so could 7 other horses. You could slot that in. So, no, I'm with you. That's who I would have taken. I don't want to take somebody that's like nobody's talking about here, though.
No, be willing to be wrong, right? That's who's your last Pretender?
Dan and Bourbon would be my last Pretender, and I'm taking him for 2 reasons. One, that reaction, and I want that reaction. Like I don't think you're tuning into the show to tell for us to tell you right to party or Albus, so I want to pick somebody that I think truly is a pretender that other people think can win the Triple Crown, right? And that's kind of the 2 ends of it. Now, am I gonna be shocked if Dan and Bourbon wins the Derby? No.
I'm gonna have you pause.
Okay.
Because I'm actually about to go into that. So I want you to save your Dan and Bourbon take because we're going to talk about the foreign horses here in a second because that was one of the most popular things people commenting on. I do want to say who the other one in my mind that I was going back and forth was. Okay. Emerging Market was the other Pretender that I was considering to take in that spot. I think that's a brown horse that's going to take money that is just not ready yet. There's just too much too soon for Emerging Market for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. He's kind of on the list of I'm not sure what exactly to do, but I don't really buy him as a win contender in this race.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he draws. All right, now why I cut you off.
Sure.
We ask for comments and we take them very seriously. Like, I want to hear from you. Aaron wants to hear from you. We want to know what people care about. The most popular thing last week that was said was from Crazy Kyle, who's so crazy. His name has 2 Z's, 3 Y's, and it starts with a K. You guys really need to discuss Dan and Bourbon coming in from Japan. I think this guy could have a big shot this year, breaks well, has tactical foot, and powers away from his competition late. He won his last race, breaking a stakes record from Nicholas Ford. Could you guys talk about the foreign horses that will be in the Kentucky Derby? Do you think any of them are contenders? All right, foreign horses: Dan and Bourbon, Wonder Dean, 6-speed. What are your, like, you now give us your Dan and Bourbon take, and then I'll jump in on all three of them and where I kind of see them fitting.
Well, first of all, the Dan and Bourbon tank, he is bred well. He's bred in Kentucky, and he's bred to get the distance, all that stuff. He's ran well going long. So there's not a lot of holes you can poke at him as far as what he's done so far. He's been really good. Crazy Kyle probably wasn't awake when he ran, and I wasn't either when he ran all of his 3 races. Like, the last race was in the middle of the night. I woke up, I was like, oh, Dan and Bourbon won, right? We have no idea who not a clue who he's facing over there. And that's another problem for me as well. But more than anything else, these horses, they just don't get the trips they usually get in their races overseas when they come over here. I think back to Forever Young, who was by far, in my opinion, the best foreign horse since I've been following it to come over here. And I don't even think it's close. He still got third. Why did he get third? He broke horribly. He got shuffled way, way back. He didn't get near the trip that he gets in all of his other races, and he just got beat. And he was much, much the best in the race. He got beat. I look at Dan and Bourbon, and like the comment says, he gets out of the gate well. He does. That doesn't mean he's going to get out of the gate well here. And what happens if he doesn't get that spot that he normally gets? I think he's in big trouble. And so many of the international horses just do not get out of the gate well in the Derby. And you see it over and over and over. And so that's why my worry. I mean, if you think he's talented enough to do it, I maybe, but I don't know what metric you look at that says that for sure. It's like, oh, he's running really fast races. Great. How does the track play? What was any of his speed figures? We have no idea. Like, who was he up against? Nothing. We don't know anything about him. So that's my worry. We knew more about Forever Young. We saw him go to Saudi and win and beat Bookham Dano. We saw him go to the UAE Derby and win and look really good doing it. We just don't know anything about Dan and Bourbon.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern is like we knew Forever Young was going to be Forever Young before Forever Young was Forever Young in the horse racing world. If
Yes.
that makes, like, everyone knew there was hype around this Japanese horse that was coming over. Dan and Bourbon, not that same hype, just not on that same level, that caliber that we expected Forever Young to be heading into the Derby. I don't think that they deserve to be in the same breath. I think Dan and Bourbon's a very talented horse.
Mm-hmm.
I have the same concern you do. Like, either these horses go way too fast or they don't break. Like, you very rarely see anything in between. And that sounds crazy, but you look at some of these nuts paces we've had in derbies. It's Japanese horses who are just way too hyped up, get out and go 22:45 and it's over for them. And then the other version is Forever Young, or the I can't remember the horse that was supposed to be awesome and then just jumped at the start. But like we've consistently seen these horses get away really well or not get away at all. And for me, that makes it really hard when I don't think this is as talented of a horse as Forever Young to be able to back it in a field which, yeah, it's wide open. Like, this is a year you could make the case. Forever Young's Derby was wide open when Fierceness didn't fire.
Yeah.
Mystic Dan won that freaking thing. Like, that was just as wide open as this one is. So I look back at it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I would need 25, 30 to 1 on Dan and Bourbon. I just don't think I get it on race day.
And that's the problem. I think he's getting way too much hype, and you're going to have a little bit of shorter price than he should be. The comment is right. He may not be Forever Young, but he doesn't need to be Forever Young to win this year's edition. That's true. Like, but he does have to have a much better trip than all these horses, right? And you said it. How many links would Forever Young beat Mystic Dan on a normal day? Like, a ton. But he couldn't
15.
beat Mystic Dan.
Yeah.
Because the trip was so bad, and it's just like, man, and I'm 1,000% with you. John White's going to come on a Racing News podcast, and he's going to really talk up Dan and Bourbon. He loves him. I just can't buy that he's Forever Young. I just can't. And if he is, maybe he can do it. I just can't get there.
It's the funny thing because these horses used to get ignored at the windows, and now it feels like they get overvalued. They're overhyped because people want to be on the one time it actually happens. Because we've never seen a horse from Japan come over and win. Someday one will.
Yes.
I'll keep passing on the 8-1s that don't. Like, let's just put it that. Like, beat me at 8-1, then we'll talk about whether or not I think this is a legitimate thing. All right, other YouTube comments that we want to bring up here. You mentioned John White. So did Ronnie B. In one of the comments, he said one of John White's Derby strikes is they change equipment for the Derby or the race before. It's not elimination strike, but one of the 5 strikes that John used to judge his Derby prospects. Obviously, Chief Wallaby, the horse that we're going to talk about here. He's right. This is one of John White's strikes. He'll go over all of those on the annual podcast you do with him over at racingdudes.com and Blinkers Off. Make sure you check that out. Very long-winded podcast, but a very, very informative one nonetheless. I am still going back and forth with this Chief Wallaby Blinkers thing. I think I'm in. I think when you go back and you watch his races, I can make an argument he would have improved every single one with blinkers. And now he looked good in the morning. I joked about taking workouts too seriously. I was like locked in on that Chief Wallaby workout because I did want to see what it would look like with blinkers. And I think he looked awesome. I think he looked awesome, Aaron.
He did look good, yeah. Bill Mott compared him to Sovereignty. Sovereignty's worked 2 weeks before the Derby, compared Chief Wallaby's work to that. I've talked to John White a lot.
Can I say one thing about that?
Yeah, sure.
Sovereignty was a terrible workhorse. That's not a positive. You don't want to be compared to Sovereignty in the morning. He hates working out.
He had a pretty good work lead up to the Derby, I feel like. But
Alvarado even said Sovereignty stinks in the morning.
That is, okay. All right. Well, that's fair. Well, Chief Wallaby's better, right? No,
yeah, there you go. Hey.
I've talked to John about the strikes specifically, and he has admitted that a couple of the strikes are now dated. Like the lack of racing as a 2-year-old. He's like, it's hard to kind of stay on that with a strong conviction, right? But one of the strikes that he doesn't think is overrated is the equipment change right before the Derby. He still thinks, and there's a lot of research that, hey, that's not great. So, but yeah, it's not an elimination. And look, I've kind of just said, look, it's Bill Mott. You kind of got to trust him, and hopefully it works out. But Mike, I don't think he's winning the Derby with how he ran the last couple of races, especially the last race. So you got to try it. I don't think it's great, but it's Bill Mott, and you got to trust Bill Mott.
Yeah, I'm with you. In Mott, I trust. Worked last year. Hopefully it works this year. At Ronald, I'm going to go with Tekuchi here. Assuming the Derby doesn't have early speed pace horses in it like it has in the past years, how about Pavlovian to hit the board? He's improved in the last 2 races, the Sunland Derby and the Louisiana Derby, giving emerging market all he could handle. Comments. Don't hate it. Don't hate Pavlovian in like 4th. I do think we are going to have a fast pace again, though. I do think this is going to be another one where we're going to see them go pretty quick. We'll obviously have to keep an eye on the draw. Where does the speed draw inside outside makes it even faster? I think we're going 46 and change. Yeah. I don't see a 47 pace in our future here, but I do still think Pavlovian, the most logical speed horse to hang around and end up running like 4th at a big number.
100%. And he is the horse that is, when they changed tactics and decided to go to the front, he's been a lot better. Like,
remember the blinker conversation? Yes. That made a difference for him.
Yeah. Yes. So if you want to play a speed horse, that's the one. I'm kind of leaning you. I don't know that they'll be able to hold on, but I do agree with kind of the commenter and with your comment as well. If there is one that I'll throw in there, it is Pavlovian. He has proven to be a very tough horse. I still think he's just a tad below, but I'm with you.
Chick Devino, Devinoo?
Sure.
Anyway, she comments in, I still feel Commandment and Renegade have raced in 6 and 8 horse fields. Combined, that's 14 horses. There's going to be 20 in the Derby. Both horses can't fall behind and then pass 19 other horses. What about horses that stay in the hunt a little bit closer? Further ado, Commandment. Do you have any feeling like the closer is going to get blocked in this? I think this is interesting just because none of these horses have been in 20 horse fields. Mm-hmm. And I was 100% with, I'm just going to call you Chick. I'm sorry, but I don't know how to pronounce the rest of it. I'm 100% with Chick here, where I didn't want closers 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I wrote an article about how you had to be closer to the pace. That has changed. Picked Mage closing, picked Sovereignty last year, knowing that course is coming from off the pace. I think that it's okay to close now. Because of the paces and the faster paces we've seen in the Derby, I don't think that's as big of an issue. I think the real question is, do you think the pace is going to be fast? Because if you think the pace is going to be fast, then I don't care about the field sizes. If you think the pace is going to be slow, then it matters a lot.
Yeah, 100%. It is pace dependent, and I don't think it's like a home run that there's going to be a fast pace, but I do think, now Chip Honcho draws into the race, and so it does kind of feel like it's getting hotter as we go, right? To the point about getting blocked, the answer is yes. There will be closers that get blocked. It's going to happen. It happens every year. And that is the risk you take, right? And that is if I end up picking Commandment or Renegade, you could get blocked. You could look up and go, he ran 6, then he only got to run for 100 yards. That is very much possible. You just kind of have to hope for some racing luck, right? You remember, when Mage won it, and it's one of your famous picks, right? He just hit every hole perfect. He just got everything. He beat Angel of Empire to every opening, and that's how he won it. So you got to have a little bit of racing luck with those closers for sure.
As someone who picked Angel of Empire that year, you're still not salty, I'm sure. And you're right, by the way. He did win he just was more athletic, and that was the difference in that. His closing trip was very different than like the closing trip of Mystic Dan or Rich Strike or Sovereignty, where Mystic Dan and Rich Strike just went up the rail and Sovereignty went wide. Mage weaved, right? And that is a lot harder to do than what those other 3 horses did. By the way, I just mentioned the last 4 Kentucky Derby winners. All came from off the pace. Just saying. Like, I understand that before that, you can list a lot of horses that were close to it or a lot of horses that were on the lead, right? The previous ones, Mandaloon was close to it, but that was the year that Medina Spirit actually won the race or crossed the finish line first. Gate to Wire. Authentic year before, Gate to Wire. Country House got put up because I can't remember his name now. Why can't I remember his name now?
Maximum Security.
Maximum Security went Gate to Wire. Justify the year before, basically Gate to Wire. So I'm more into these short-term trends. I do think it's going to be a closer again because I think we're going to get speed from these international horses.
Well, it's also interesting who was going Gate to Wire in those races, who trained those horses.
I didn't say it.
Who popped a positive test.
Yeah.
And who's one of them in jail, right? We're talking about Service, who trained Maximum Security.
Yeah.
It may be tougher to get a 1.25 miles running that fast in this era of racing.
Yeah, literally 3 of the 4 trained by Baffert. The 4th one was the reason he got suspended, and you mentioned it, Maximum Security's trainer now in jail. So, I kind of lean toward closers once again this year. All right, best bets to wrap up the show. You already heard my first one, race number 4 at Aqueduct. Number 3, Teddy's Rocket, 8-5 on the morning line. I was hoping for a better price. I think this horse is dominant. I think this is one of those spots where Teddy's Rocket absolutely rolls. I again wanted 7-2. Morning line's 8-5. Not going to be as big of a bet for me, but still going to be a horse that I would bet on at anything better than that 6-5-ish range. So Teddy's Rocket, still one of my 2 best bets here. Aaron, your first best bet, Oaklawn Park, race number 10 on Saturday.
Yeah, race 10, I'm going to go number 1, Standout Sensation here at Oaklawn. Tried Graded Company last 2 races, 2nd in the Houston Classic 2 races back, 4th in the Azeri last time out, but that was just much tougher than what she's going to face here. I think she runs similar to what she did in the Pippin 3 races back here at Oaklawn, kind of got towards the front and just kind of ran them into the ground. Had 4 straight wins in similar races to this, and then that's why they tried the Graded Company, but back kind of where I think she belongs. Really like her in this spot. So the number 1, Standout Sensation in the 10th at Oaklawn.
Yeah, I like the 1-2 or the 1-5. I think the 1 wins the race. I think 2 or 5 are the 2 logical second horses. Just 1-2-5, 1-2-5. Or 1 with 2-5, 2-5 try. How about that? Just to find a way to play that one. Because I do think you're right. I think the 1 Gate to Wire going to take care of business there. My second best bet, let's head out to Santa Anita, race number 4 on the Saturday's card. And I'm going to go to the number 7 horse here, Savage Warden, 4-1 on the morning line. This horse, I'm not sure why we were turf sprinting. That's what Carlos Perez decided to do with this horse on debut. Actually won a turf sprint, then switches over to synthetic, runs in a couple allowances there. But again, a sprint and synthetic, like at Gulfstream, you got to be forward. And this is not a horse that was going to make the lead. I don't love the place. Now, Little Wet Feather brings this horse out to the West Coast. D'Amato trains, who's 4 for 10 on the early Santa Anita meet, and stretches this horse out to 1 mile. where I think is probably the best distance. Like, this is a horse that has Noble Mission on the top, Kitten's Joy on the bottom. Like, the stretch out should be a positive thing here. And I think catches a really beatable field in this spot as well. If you look where the other horses coming into this race came out of, we've got a maiden claimer, 1 second off a $25,000 claiming win, state bred maiden claimer, a couple more maiden claimers, another state bred maiden claimer, and a bunch of state bred races. This field drew pretty weak for a horse shipping in from Florida. Give me number 7, Savage Warden, who I think sits from off the pace and then rolls from mid-pack late to win it at 4-1 here. Santa Anita race number 4 on Saturday.
Good pick. I like that pick. That's my top pick as well. I pretty much agree with everything you said. I think we're getting back to what we want to do. So I think, yeah, that's a like I said, it is one of your classic races. I mean, it is kind of a tougher race, but I do think that horse makes a ton of sense.
Hopefully we can keep it rolling. Last week with was $11 and $10 winners in the best bets. Hopefully we can keep it going again this week. Your final best bet headed to Churchill Downs, race number 3 on Saturday's card.
Not only did you hit those horses, but they were kind of running off the screen a little bit too. They were pretty impressive.
Fun. never sweat.
it was fun. I was at Oaklawn. We were going and watching. We're like, man, there they go again. So anyway, yeah, good picks there. Number 3, Lady Orient here in the 3rd race at Churchill on Saturday. Excited for Churchill Downs to get back going, and excited for this horse too. Coming off of a claiming win, going 1 mile at Fairgrounds last time out, did it very, very impressively. Same level here, same distance. I just think this horse is going to make it 2 for 2. Or 2 in a row, I should say. Another race where I think the trip is going to really be ideal. Kind of just see this horse kind of just stalking maybe the 5 and then pouncing at the top of the lane. So give me the number 3, Lady Orient in the 3rd at Churchill on Saturday.
That's going to do it for the best bets for this weekend. Before we sign off, Aaron, we got a little housekeeping because it is Kentucky Derby week next week, which means we're going to be around a little bit more. So make sure you are subscribed over Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and over on YouTube at VSiN at the track over there. We're going to have a show on Wednesday. We're going to talk about Friday, the Oaks specifically. We're going to have a show on Thursday talking about Saturday's card from Churchill Downs. We may have a couple of surprises sprinkled in. So make sure that you hang out and you're subscribed to the channels to make sure you don't miss any of the content leading up to the Kentucky Derby. And then on Saturday, we will be live on Mad Dog Sports Radio as well as VSiN for the Kentucky Derby. It'll be Patrick Maher and I. Aaron Halterman will also be jumping in at some point. And we'll have guests throughout the races of the 3 hours leading up to the Kentucky Derby, as well as be on right after the Kentucky Derby. So make sure if you got YouTube TV, you can watch it live on VSiN. If you've got SiriusXM Radio, Channel 58, Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 158, VSiN's channel, or you can check us out on the VSiN Watch app. So a lot of ways to consume the content. We'll be talking about the races prior to the Derby, have a bunch of guests on, give our final Derby picks, and run it there on both of those channels as well. So thank you very much for sticking around, enjoying this show. Hopefully we can stay hot. For super producer Matt Deutsch, who is back behind the glass today, for Aaron Halterman, I'm Mike Somich. Good luck this weekend at the track.